Ethan had always sought refuge in quiet places, away from the clamor of the city, away from the constant hum of obligations and expectations. After a recent breakup that had left him feeling unmoored, he found himself drawn to the open stretches of countryside, where the air was crisp and untainted and where he could breathe without the weight of anyone else's gaze. The small ranch he had discovered on a travel blog seemed ideal, a place where he could lose himself in nature and, perhaps, rediscover pieces of himself he had long neglected. The sun was just beginning its descent when he arrived, casting golden streaks across the rolling fields. He parked his car near a weathered wooden fence and stepped out, stretching as the soft wind carried the scent of hay and earth. That was when he saw it, a horse, a stallion with a dark, lustrous coat, standing alone near a small grove of trees. The animal's presence was commanding, yet there was an almost serene gentleness in the way it moved, the subtle flick of its ears, the slow swish of its tail. Ethan felt an unexpected tug in his chest, a curious blend of awe and longing, and before he realized it, he was walking toward the animal, drawn by something he couldn't name. He approached cautiously, mindful not to startle the stallion. "Hey there," he murmured, his voice barely above the wind. The horse turned its head, eyeing him with dark, intelligent eyes. Ethan reached out, and the stallion leaned into his hand, nuzzling his palm. A warmth spread through him, not just from the physical contact but from the connection, fleeting though it might be. He ran his fingers along the horse's mane, feeling the silky strands slip through his hands, and found himself laughing softly at the simple joy of the moment. There was a playfulness in the way the horse shifted its weight, a responsiveness that made Ethan feel seen in a way he hadn't felt in months. The sound of footsteps on gravel drew his attention. A man emerged from the path leading to the barn, tall and solidly built, with sun-kissed skin and eyes that seemed to assess everything at once. "That's Grayson," he said, his tone casual but protective. "He's usually not this friendly with strangers." The man's name was Lucas, Ethan would learn, and there was an easy confidence in the way he carried himself, a mix of authority and approachability that was almost magnetic. Lucas's gaze lingered on Ethan, a subtle curiosity in his expression. "You've got away with him," Lucas said, nodding toward the stallion. Ethan's cheeks flushed. "He's just amazing. I don't know, I felt like I had to meet him," he admitted. Lucas smiled faintly, a hint of something unreadable in his eyes, and Ethan felt a strange thrill at the acknowledgement. There was an undercurrent, something unspoken, yet palpable, threading between them. Ethan spent the next few minutes instinctively mimicking the movements of the horse, brushing its coat, tracing patterns along its mane. Lucas watched, occasionally offering a small tip or gentle correction, but mostly observing, letting Ethan engage with the animal. With each laugh, each careful touch, Ethan felt a lightness he hadn't felt in years. The ordinary troubles of his past seemed distant, almost irrelevant, eclipsed by the immediacy of connection and the quiet intimacy of shared space. Finally, the stallion shifted, stepping back slightly, ears flicking toward the barn. Ethan straightened, realizing he had lingered far longer than intended. He looked at Lucas, who gave a small nod, almost approving. "You've got a knack for calming him," Lucas said. Ethan smiled, but there was a hint of something deeper in his eyes, curiosity, desire, and a budding awareness that this encounter might be more than a simple afternoon with a horse. As he walked back toward his car, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Something about the ranch, the horse, and Lucas had unsettled him in the most unexpected way, and he found himself hoping, with a mixture of apprehension and anticipation, that he would see them again. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains of Ethan's modest cabin on the edge of the ranch, casting long streaks across the wooden floor. He lingered over a cup of coffee, the taste bitter and grounding, while his mind replayed yesterday's encounter with Grayson and Lucas. There was something about the way Lucas had watched him, the subtle curve of his lips when he smiled, that lingered in Ethan's thoughts, tugging at a part of him he hadn't wanted to acknowledge. It was unsettling, thrilling, and entirely unexpected. Drawn by a mixture of curiosity and the need to occupy himself, Ethan wandered toward the pasture once more. Grayson was there, standing tall and proud, the morning sun glinting off his dark coat. He neighed softly as Ethan approached, nuzzling his hand. A laugh escaped Ethan's lips. "Good morning, buddy," he murmured. The stallion's warmth was comforting, a steady presence in contrast to the storm of thoughts swirling in Ethan's mind. Footsteps on the dirt path signaled that Lucas had arrived as well. He carried a bucket of feed, his posture relaxed yet purposeful, exuding the quiet authority that had fascinated Ethan the day before. "Morning," Lucas greeted, his voice smooth but edged with amusement. "Looks like Grayson's taken a liking to you." Ethan felt a flush creeping up his neck. "I don't know, I just feel calm around him," he admitted. Lucas's eyes softened, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. They worked in tandem to tend to the horse, Ethan brushing Grayson's coat while Lucas prepared the feed. The rhythm of their movements created an unspoken intimacy, each gesture deliberate, attentive. Ethan noticed Lucas's hands as he adjusted the reins, rough and calloused yet precise, and an unexpected flutter rose in his chest. He tried to shake it off as a passing thought, but Lucas's quiet confidence and ease with the animal only drew him further in. As the morning stretched on, conversation flowed naturally. Lucas asked about Ethan's life in the city, his work, and his reasons for seeking the solitude of the countryside. Ethan spoke cautiously, revealing snippets of his recent heartbreak without exposing too much. Lucas responded with his own stories, brief, revealing glimpses of his past, of sacrifices and disappointments, and of the rare moments that made it all worthwhile. Each revelation, small though it was, chipped away at the walls Ethan had built around himself, fostering a growing trust he hadn't anticipated sharing with anyone. At one point, Grayson nudged Ethan gently with his muzzle, almost as if urging him closer. Lucas noticed and chuckled softly. "He's observant, isn't he?" Ethan laughed nervously, their hands brushing as he adjusted the horse's halter. The contact was brief, almost incidental, yet it sent a shiver up Ethan's spine. He pulled his hand back, suddenly aware of the electric undercurrent threading between them. Lucas's gaze lingered, steady and discerning, and Ethan felt both exposed and exhilarated. Time passed quickly, and the bond between them deepened without overt declarations. Shared laughter, subtle touches, and quiet understanding created a connection that felt immediate and undeniable. Ethan found himself drawn to Lucas in ways that went beyond simple attraction, a pull towards safety, understanding, and a daring curiosity about what might be possible. He recognized, with a mixture of guilt and exhilaration, that his thoughts of Lucas were shifting into territory he had not intended to explore. By late morning, Grayson had calmed after his feed, and the two men stepped back, surveying the horse with a sense of shared satisfaction. Lucas leaned against the fence, arms crossed, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You've got a way of connecting with him," he said quietly. Ethan met his gaze, sensing the layers of meaning beneath the words. He swallowed hard, feeling a nervous excitement and a sense of inevitability. As Ethan walked back toward his cabin later, his mind buzzed with the morning's events. There was a tension now, subtle but persistent, hovering between curiosity, desire, and moral hesitation. He knew that his time on the ranch would not be merely a respite from the past, it had become something more, a quiet, intoxicating pull toward connection and discovery. And though he wasn't yet certain what path he would take, he felt the first stirrings of anticipation, knowing that the next encounter with Lucas, and perhaps Grayson, would change something inside him forever. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the pasture, painting the fields in a warm, amber glow. Ethan had returned after a brief walk along the edge of the woods, his mind tangled with thoughts he couldn't ignore. Each step toward Grayson and Lucas felt heavier, charged with anticipation and a quiet apprehension. The tension he had felt yesterday and the connection he had nurtured this morning now pressed against the edges of his restraint, whispering that some boundaries might soon be crossed. Lucas was already near the fence when Ethan arrived, holding a lead rope loosely in one hand. His eyes lifted to meet Ethan's, calm and observant, carrying that same unspoken weight from earlier encounters. "You're back," Lucas said simply, but the way he said it made Ethan's chest tighten. There was an ease in Lucas's presence, a quiet magnetism that made the world shrink to this pasture, this moment, this shared space. Ethan nodded, trying to appear casual, but his heart betrayed him, thudding with a mixture of excitement and unease. Grayson shifted, nudging Ethan gently with his muzzle. The gesture was innocent, yet the intimacy it fostered between man and animal mirrored the unspoken tension growing between Ethan and Lucas. Ethan reached up to smooth the stallion's neck, feeling the horse's warmth beneath his palm. Lucas stepped closer, his hand brushing against Ethan's as he adjusted the lead rope. The contact was fleeting, accidental even, but it left a spark lingering in the space between them. Ethan's pulse quickened, and he forced a breath, aware of how fragile the moment was. For a while, they worked together in silence, tending to Grayson's needs, brushing the coat, checking hooves, and sharing quiet instructions. Every gesture, every glance, became a conversation in itself, a dialogue that words could not fully capture. Ethan felt Lucas's presence like a current, pulling him closer even as he wrestled with his own moral hesitation. He reminded himself of past commitments and the lingering threads of guilt that he carried, but the lure of connection, the raw, undeniable chemistry, was almost impossible to resist. Eventually, Lucas spoke, voice low and careful. "Ethan, you don't have to hold back here. You're allowed to feel whatever comes naturally." The words struck him with surprising force. They were permission, and challenge, and reassurance all at once. Ethan swallowed hard, the tension coiling tighter in his chest. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap between them, but the fear of consequences held him in check. Lucas's gaze softened, patient yet insistent, and Ethan realized that this choice, how he would respond, would define everything about the rest of his stay, perhaps more. The moment stretched, silent but electric. Ethan stepped a little closer, the space between them charged with unspoken possibility. He could feel Lucas's steady breath, the warmth of his body just near enough to stir longing, and a surge of courage mingled with apprehension. Yet before anything could happen, a sudden noise from the barn startled Grayson, and the stallion reared slightly, breaking the fragile bubble of intimacy. Both men instinctively steadied him, hands brushing once more in the process, and then stepped back, the moment dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Ethan exhaled, heart still racing. He knew, with a mixture of clarity and regret, that he was standing at a crossroads. He could allow himself to explore the connection with Lucas, to embrace the feelings that had awakened within him, or he could step back, honor his own boundaries, and focus on understanding himself before acting on desire. Either choice carried weight, consequences, and the potential for growth. Lucas gave him a small, knowing smile. "Whatever you decide, just be honest with yourself," he said, his voice calm but resonant. Ethan nodded, absorbing the gravity and tenderness in the statement. For the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of clarity, not about the path he must take immediately, but about the importance of acknowledging and understanding his own emotions. As Ethan walked back toward the cabin, Grayson following him with a soft nicker, he felt a strange combination of release and anticipation. The ranch, the horse, and Lucas had stirred something deep within him, something that could not be ignored or easily forgotten. The encounter had left him unsteady, alive, and aware that his life had shifted imperceptibly but irrevocably. And as the sun dipped lower, bathing the fields in gold, he knew that the next chapter, whatever it might hold, was waiting, poised on the edge of possibility.